Welcome back to part 3 of What If Subaru Had a Stand. Today we'll be covering the events of Arc 3. So let's get back to where we left off last time. It would be an early morning in the mansion. As Subaru would be enjoying his breakfast, Ram would call out right in front of the entire main cast, questioning Subaru about his mysterious ability. Ram would suspect it would be an authority, since Subaru does have strong miasma. Subaru wouldn't know how to respond to this. He would try explaining to them that his power was only seen by him and he could manipulate energy from solid like states. But there was a secondary personage who was a conduit to those abilities. Subaru would say that he's been caught in a cosmic embrace. Immediately, he withdraws his stand. Cosmic Embrace would pick up a cup. To the entire main cast, surprise, there'd just be a cup floating in the air. As the entirety rest of the table would go into panic, because why would Subaru have an authority out of all people? Roswell would soon calm everybody down. Roswell would explain to Subaru those who inherited one of the 6 witch factors would normally join the witches' cult after receiving a gospel. He would then name off the authorities that are already known as of now: the authority of lust, the authority of greed, the authority of pride, and the authority of gluttony, the authority of sloth, and the authority of wrath. Those were the 6 authorities that one may hold. Roswell will further question Subaru about his powers, as authorities comes in many shapes and sizes. Then he would ask if he has received a gospel. To Subaru, he had not. So he would tell them that he has never even heard about the gospel before, and he hasn't even received one. That would be enough for Roswell, as their discussion about Subaru's power would be disturbed by a guess. After all, Amelia did have to go to the royal selection meeting in the capital. Subaru would want to join Amelia, but to his surprise, he was already going since he needed healing. He has overused his gate in the previous series of events. Amelia made it clear that she only wanted Subaru to get properly healed, and he would not be attending her into the royal selection meeting. Subaru would promise that he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't follow her. But they had a guest waiting outside. So off they went. The guest was an old man by the name of Wilhelm. He would be under the cruise camp. Along with the old man, there was a person appearing like to be a cat girl. They would call themselves Felix. As Subaru started chatting it up with Wilhelm, wanting to gather more information about this royal selection meeting, Wilhelm couldn't give much information since he needed to keep things secretive. But Wilhelm did notice something peculiar about Subaru. Felix would question this. Wilhelm would only reply, "That boy, he has faced death's door many times." Subaru, Rem, and Amelia would head to the capital, as Roswell already had faster means of getting there. Finally, they made it to the capital. This time, Subaru wasn't a broke loser anymore. He was able to buy apples from the appleman. After all, he did kind of feel bad for being useless all the way back then. Getting a full bag of apples. To Subaru's surprise, he would see what appears to be a damsel in distress. As the three thugs from the first part were trying to rob this lady, Subaru had to act up. Subaru would rush over there, withdrawing his stand, Cosmic Embrace, easily beating off the thugs. But to Subaru's surprise, this damsel claimed that she had it under wraps, and she would also proceed to ask what those fruit like things were in Subaru's basket. He would reply with, "They're anapas," as Subaru questioned if this damsel didn't even have an apple before. But this damsel would introduce herself as Priscilla. Priscilla would correct him, or so she thought. She would claim that apples had white flesh, not red. Subaru would ask if she had never had ate an apple with the skin on, since they normally have the skin on. As Subaru would toss an apple towards Priscilla, Priscilla would catch it, quickly taking a bite, realizing indeed this was an apple. Soon, a man with a helmet made out of iron would appear. He was relieved as he had found his princess Priscilla. He would call himself Aldebaran, or just Al for short. He would be relieved as he has found Priscilla. But he was not alone. He was accompanied by Amelia, who questioned where Subaru ran off to. So Priscilla and Al would be on their way. Subaru and Amelia would also head back to as Rem. As Subaru would soon meet up with Felix, as he needed his gate properly healed, so it wouldn't be permanently damaged. As Subaru gazed upon Felix, he grew flustered, as being healed by a cute cat girl, what else could compare? But to Subaru's surprise, Felix would confirm he was a man. All of Subaru's lewd thoughts would instantly vanish, as he did not swing that way. After the Felix's intense healing session was over, Subaru's gate was partially healed. He needed much more healing, but that could wait. He wanted it to accompany Amelia to the royal selection, but he knew Amelia didn't want him there, so he needed to find another way in. But first, Subaru had to greet Amelia off as she went into the selection. As Subaru and Amelia drew closer to the royal selection's place, they would meet up with a purple terrier guy. He would greet Amelia and then bow down and kiss her hand. This would greatly piss off Subaru, as the purple hair guy would address himself as Julius Euclius. He was a knight. Subaru would notice his white attire, instantly making a comment about how he should not eat chili fries in that attire as it would greatly stain his suit. Julius had no idea what Subaru was talking about, but he would thank him for the advice. And W's for anybody who recognized that reference. Then Julius and Amelia would walk in. Subaru had to wait outside, but he needed to get in, so he would look for another way. Being stopped by the guards, he wandered around, trying to figure out the strategy. Then a carriage would stop right next to him. To his surprise, it would be Priscilla offering him a ride into the royal selection. Subaru would question him, but Priscilla replied with, "It would be more interesting if he was here." So he climbed into the carriage and made it into the royal selection. As Subaru made his way inside the royal hall, Amelia would be shocked, as she remembered the promise Subaru made that he wouldn't attend. But she was hopeful that Subaru wouldn't embarrass her or anything like that. Soon after Subaru made his entrance, the fifth royal candidate would arrive. To everybody's surprise, it would be Felt, the girl with a slum as a background, and accompanying her would be Reinhardt, as he would claim himself as to be her knight in the royal selection. As Felt took her place, the wise men would start talking about the rules and why would they were meet up to there, but they would be interrupted by Priscilla, as she already knew everything. So did everybody else. So quickly, Priscilla made her move, making the wise men quit their yap. Then the wise men would question each royal candidate what they would do if they inherited the crown. First, Priscilla would go up, proclaiming the crown was only fit for her, and they only needed to select her first so she could rule over the country. All they needed to do was grovel at her feet and serve her. Next up, Lady Crochet would claim that if she was elected as the ruler, she would make the dragon forget about its cunning, as the capital of Lagunica belonged to its people, not the dragon. Next up would be Lady Anastasia. She would proclaim that she had lots of greed and she needed more than just a business market. She needed her entire nation. Next up would be Amelia. She would proclaim if she inherited the crown, she would make a place where all the citizens were treated equally, as she did not like the discrimination that was forced upon her and many more people. Then Felt would go, as she had no idea what to say, but she didn't want to inherit the crown. She didn't want to do all of it. She was just dragged into this. As the wise men would react to this, they would question if she really wanted to quit out of the royal selection. As a random person from the audience would be disgusted as why was the Estrella family offering up a gutter rat to be the royal candidate. Then the wise men would chuckle in, questioning why Roswell was permitting a half devil to be their next leader. Amelia would be deeply hurt, but she wouldn't then say anything about it. Subaru would greatly get angered by this, as he listened on to the rambling of the old wise men talking about how Amelia fit the description of the Witch of Envy. All of who feared all, who all feared. They would undermine Amelia's right in the place, as she was the embodiment of the Witch of Envy as they believed. Suddenly, Subaru had enough. He would instantly crawl out, instantly call out their crap, saying, "That's enough!" Amelia would soon chime in, asking him to stop, and she did not want this to interfere with the royal selection. But Subaru was too determined. He was not going to let Amelia get pounded into the ground by the council of wise men. Amelia then would introduce herself as the silvered hair half elf, accompanied by the great spirit Puck. She would claim that her appearance, similar to the Witch of Envy, caused her to be looked down upon and get lots of criticism. But she did not want that to be an obstacle for her. Then the Council of Elders would question Amelia about what Subaru was to Amelia. Amelia would visibly look shaken as she did not know how to respond to this. But Subaru decided to take things into his own hands. He would march up and proclaim in front of them all that he was Amelia's best knight, Roswell's manservant. As the audience would go into a gaze, the Council of Wise Men would question Subaru about this fact. Roswell would chime in, saying, "This shows how much he doesn't know about our world." Then Julius Euclius would stand up, as he was deeply angered by Subaru's statement. He would question if he was actually a knight, and if he had what it took to be one of them, as he just said that in front of the entire knight community, as all of the knights behind Julius would simultaneously draw out their swords and stomp on the ground aggressively. Subaru would be gassed. He would proclaim that he was going to make Amelia the ruler. Julius would question this once again, asking if he even had the courage to do it. Subaru would admit that he was lacking in that department, but he had other strengths to make up for it. Julius would be taken aback because to him, this random person, this nobody, claimed of weakness, making him, making that his strength. That was not very knightly. He would declare that Subaru was too arrogant for this. As Subaru was feeling pressured, he would ask if being a knight was really that much of big of a deal, as he believed it was only important since he was born into it. Julius would instantly disarm him, saying that was not a good look on him. As Amelia had enough of Subaru shenanigans, he would he would be asked to be withdrawn from the royal selection. Amelia would drag Subaru out personally, as she was deeply hurt that Subaru broke his promise he had made to her. The wise men would compliment Amelia's companion, Subaru, as he said what none of them could. Amelia would reply that he was not her companion. Subaru would look mortified as he was kicked out of the council. Right after that, they would restart the royal selection, but to everybody's surprise, smoke would then fill up the room, as one of the royal selection candidates would soon be grasped by a blurry figure. Once the smoke would be clear, all of the knights would soon draw their swords, only to see Lady Field is in the grasp of a bulky man that we know all too familiar. It was Old Man Rom. The wise men declared that he would die for infiltrating this, but Lady Felt did not want this, as this was her father figure. As Felt would beg for them to spare Old Man Rom, they would not reply to her, as in their mind she has quit being a royal candidate. Then Felt would confess that she would do this. She would be a royal candidate if they spared his life. And then she would proclaim if she inherited the crown, she would watch it all burn. As she had lived in the slums, she knew what the other side looked like. She was going to tear the entire place down and rebuild it from scratch. Everybody would be in awe, as Feld's statement was crazy. As that would be the end of the royal selection meeting, we'd cut back to Subaru, as Felt and Reinhardt would soon appear. Felt would question Subaru's worthiness of being Amelia's knight. Subaru would confess to Felt that it was more of an in-moment thing, as he could not withstand the discrimination against her. Felt would accept that Felix would accept that answer. As Julius would arrive, he would challenge Subaru to a battle, a fair one-on-one, as he wanted to prove to everybody what it meant to be a true knight. As the duel would start, they would both be handed wooden swords. As the fight was about to begin, Reinhard would question Julius, as this was out of character for him. But Julius, he wanted it to prove the knight's honor, that it was nothing to be overlooked. As the fight would begin, Subaru would secretly withdraw his stand. Cosmic embrace. He needed every advantage he got. As Julius expected an easy victory, he dashed towards Subaru, planning to beat him down with his wooden sword. But to his surprise, it stopped mere inches away from Subaru. Subaru had made armor. As Subaru would get on the offensive, trying his best to hit Julius. But Julius was a master compared to Subaru. The only advantage Subaru had was that he had his stand. So quickly, he threw his wooden sword at his dad. Julius would be shocked that Subaru threw his sword away, but he deemed this an easy victory. The crowd would gasp as the sword was caught by nothing. The sword would proceed to beat down Julius from behind. Julius would be in awe, questioning how Subaru was doing this. Subaru did not want to reveal his secret quite yet. The battle would be intense. Julius overpowered and overexperienced Subaru by boundfuls, but Subaru would create a sword contract, making sure it was as dull as the wooden sword. Attacking from multiple angles, Subaru thought he had a chance. Subaru thought about using Shamak, but he realized his gate was already overused. He feared that if he used magic again, it might permanently disable him from ever using it. So he decided to keep it safe and not use it, only relying on his stand. Eventually, Julius would catch on to Subaru's attack patterns with his stand, eventually closing the gap in between him and Subaru, ruthlessly beating him down with a wooden sword. Subaru created a last minute shield to protect him, but it easily cracked underneath the immense barrage of attacks Julius unleashed. We would cut back to Amelia, who got informed that Subaru and Julius got into a bit of a fight. Subaru, in Amelia's mind, would be greatly beat down, but Amelia knew Subaru had his own powers. But Amelia still had a bad feeling about it, as Amelia rushed over to see what Subaru injuries were. Amelia would order the battle to stop, but by the time she had gone there, Subaru was severely beat up. With all his might, he couldn't get around Julius. As the fight would come to an end, Subaru would seek healing from Felix. As Amelia felt deeply hurt by Subaru's action, he she did not know how to approach Subaru, so she needed space. Back over to Subaru, he was questioning Felix about his gait, how bad it was injured. Felix replied that it was it wasn't injured in the battle, and it should be he should be able to use it again after a couple more healing sessions. But Felix called out Subaru's recklessness, agreeing to a battle with a knife, as Felix knew how strong Julius was. As Subaru sought out for Amelia, he would eventually find her. To Amelia's surprise, Subaru would reveal that he has done that all for you. He no, that he has done it all for her, as he didn't want it, as he wanted to stand up for Amelia. Amelia replied that she never asked Subaru to do it, and she didn't know why Subaru was fighting for her just because. Amelia would confront Subaru about doing it just for her, but Subaru would still believe that it was all for her, and Amelia would reveal the truth to him that he had done it for himself, as he wanted to proclaim himself for Amelia, hiding behind the lie that it was all for Amelia, but it was really just for himself. Subaru would break down, questioning if Amelia even knew how much he did for him, how much he had done across every single thing. Amelia would ask him how much he has done. Amelia would know how much Subaru has saved her. But Subaru, he wanted to confess so badly how many times he died, how many things he did just for Amelia. But to his convey, he couldn't relay the truth. So Amelia was stuck there, wanting the truth, but she could never receive it. Amelia would tell Subaru that he and Rem would stay in the capital so Subaru could get properly healed. Then Roswell and Amelia would head back to the mansion. As the days passed, Subaru became more anxious about Amelia, and He thought about the possibilities that something could be happening to her. So he managed to convince Rem to try to head back to the capital with him. And then they would do such. But before they left, Subaru would thank Felix for all the healing that he's gotten so far. As Subaru's gate was nearly fully healed up by that point, he could use magic safely at this point. As Subaru and Rem traveled back, they would realize that the quicker path that they had taken to get to the capital was blocked off due to the white whale. So they were forced to take a longer approach, spanning across 2 days. But when they were done traveling for the first day, they would stop in an inn. As Subaru rested, Rem decided that she had to go back by herself, since she wouldn't know how Subaru would handle seeing Amelia again. So, the morning, Subaru woke up to realize he was all by himself. Rem was already gone with the carriage. Subaru would scramble to find a carriage so he could make his way back. But he had stumbled across a merchant by the name of Otto. He had made an incorrect purchase at the time, getting too much oil, and nobody was willing to buy it. Subaru would make a deal with Otto. He said if he managed to get him back to the mansion, he would buy his stock of oil off of him. So together they went. Their travel would be smoothly until they were briefly stopped, as the ground breeze that was carrying the cottage would soon realize there was danger ahead. Otto would try warning Subaru about this fact, but Subaru didn't care. He marched forward on foot if that's what it took. But Otto, he tried warning Subaru about the impending danger. Subaru ignored him, charging forward. When Subaru finally got back to the mansion, he would smell a horrible smell, a smell that was so putrid. He questions what that could possibly be coming from. As Subaru turned his head, he would see a pile of corpses. Subaru would be deeply disturbed by this. Then he saw one face that he recognized, one of the little kids. Subaru would be petrified as he wondered what happened to Amelia and all his other friends at the mansion. As Subaru made his way up to the mansion, he would realize that Rem was laying on the floor dead with her skull bashed in. Subaru Subaru couldn't take this. That was his breaking point. As he explored deeper into the mansion, he saw Rom too, behind a door, holding the little Petra as they both lay dead. Subaru's only hope was Amelia. He needed to find Amelia no matter the cost. As Subaru explored deep into the mansion, he couldn't find her anywhere, eventually finding a secret room. As he explored deeper, he found frozen corpses, but these were dressed in the attire of the witch cult. As Subaru approached the door, everything was frigid. When he went to grab the handle, 3 of his fingers completely froze off. Subaru panicked as he fell backwards. His entire body froze over. Then there was nothing. For a brief moment, Subaru didn't experience anything. But then he would reopen his eyes again. He was back at the Apples Man with Rem. You see, Subaru, after he got into the fight, he went to get more apples since he wanted to repay that guy even more. Realizing that people in the village were in danger, he needed to get back as soon as possible. So, so Subaru bargained with Rem that they needed to get back to the mansion. But Rem was hesitant, as she still didn't know how Subaru would handle his reuniting with Amelia, but they went anyways. As they went further this time, not stopping at the hotel or the motel, pushing the limits of the drowned dragon they had. They would arrive in the morning, only to be greeted by the witch cult. Immediately, Subaru withdrew his stand, as this was an imposing threat. Subaru tried to fight off the witch's cult to his best capabilities. He thought Ram could handle herself. Subaru managed to beat off three of the witch cultists, but to his horror, he turned around, only to see Rem brutally ripped apart right in front of him. By multiple spells, Subaru would fall into a rage. After all, that person saw him as a hero, and now she was dead, torn to shreds. Subaru, without any hesitation, would create an energy contract of a sword, but this one was sharper than ever. He ordered his stand to tear the witch's cult to shreds. As his stand, Cosmic Embrace would manage to kill off six more. As the remaining numbers would soon vanish off, Subaru needed to get back to the mansion. Even though Rem was dead, maybe some others were alive. Maybe he could save other people this time. After making it to the mansion again, he would only find the same results. A charred ashes of all the villagers in a pile this time. One was still clinging to life. He begged Subaru to help him. He he pleaded. Subaru wanted to help him, but it was already too late. He already had died. So Subaru carried forth back to the mansion. This time, he was sure that he could stop something. He was earlier this time. As he re-explored the mansion, he would find more corpses. This time, Ram would be absolutely decimated. The only indication of her being left was her head. After remembering what they did to Ram and now seeing what happened to Ram, Subaru would throw up. He was truly disturbed by the witch's cult and what they were capable of. But this time, he needed to find Amelia, so he went back to the room, back to the cold room. But this time, Subaru knew. He dashed as fast as possible right next to the door. He would withdraw his stand out this time, creating an energy glove. He opened the door, but the mere seconds Subaru stood there was enough. His leg has frozen off. Subaru would fall down to the ground, dead. Again, dying the same way. This time, when Subaru opened his eyes, he would see Rem alive, and that he would be so grateful. But he was still in so much shock after seeing those two massacres, seeing what the witch's cult did. So he fell into a state of shock, instantly falling to the ground, hugging Rem. To Rem, this was confusing, as Subaru was just fine chatting up with the merchant 1 second, and now he looked to be deeply troubled by something. So Rem would take Subaru off and over to the Felix. Felix would confirm that he was 100% fine physically, but there was nothing he could do to fix Subaru's mental state. Days later, Ram decided to take Subaru back to the mansion. She thought that Amelia might cheer Subaru up again, as Ram knew that Subaru and Amelia had a deep connection. But on their way, they would encounter the witch's cult again. Rem would defend off to the best of her capability, but Subaru, he couldn't do anything. He was still in shock, and Subaru would be stolen away by the witch's cult.
Rem would be infuriated by this. They needed she needed to chase down the witch's code, but it was too late. Ram and everybody else at the mansion was dead. Rem It took Rem a while to find Subaru, but in the meanwhile, Subaru was chained up to a wall. He was being interrogated by the witch's cult a leader at this very moment. It was a pale man with a green bowl cut. He called himself Betelgeuse. He kept on repeating that Subaru was truly loved, as he had so much miasma. Subaru would simply just stay there, shocked. Betelgeuse was truly unhappy with this result. He would crave Subaru attention, as he believed Subaru was the Sid Archbishop of Pride, since he had so much miasma. After all, he was truly loved by the witch. As, as Betelgeuse would scratch himself deeply, as everything was abyss for him. Subaru would finally regain himself after seeing Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse would question Subaru's insanity, wondering why he was fake such a thing. But Subaru, he realized everyone and everything was already dead. So, realizing that Betelgeuse was the leader behind this all, he would scream out Betelgeuse's name in fury, trying to attack him, but the range of his stand was too short. But to Subaru's surprise, Betelgeuse said, "Oh my, oh my. So this must be the witch factor of pride." For some innate reason, Betelgeuse could see Subaru's stand, just like spirits. Then we would hear a Rem from the background. She is finally caught up to the witch's cult and found where Subaru was detained. Rem would quickly charge towards Betelgeuse, but she was quickly overwhelmed. Betelgeuse would activate his authority, the unseen hand, multiple hands that were completely invisible to anybody else except for Subaru. Subaru saw all of them. They grasped at Rem, distorting her body, twisting all of her limbs in wrong places. Slowly, Subaru would hear cracking bones one after another. Betelgeuse would mock Subaru, asking him, "Oh, will you save me?" Imitating Rem impression. That was so horrible, guys, but you got the best. Subaru even got in more raged after this. He would scream out Betelgeuse's name over and over again, claiming that he was gonna put an end to Betelgeuse once and for all. But only to Betelgeuse's amusement, he kept on twisting and distorting Rem's body. Subaru had believed Rem had died. Once again, Betelgeuse would leave witches with the remaining of the witches. Subaru would question Rems if she was able to move or anything at all, but Subaru, he knew Rem was dead, or at least on the brink of death. Slowly but surely, Rem would crawl her broken and fragile body over to Subaru. With the last of her power, she would break open Subaru's chains. Subaru would then leave with Rem in hand. As Subaru made it back to the village this time, everything was and covered in snow for some reason. Subaru would once again see the corpses of all the villagers. Ram was huddled up against a door with a blade sticking out of her forehead. Subaru would scream Betelgeuse with all of his strength. Then Subaru would see this great behemoth This gray spirit, to his surprise, it spoke to him, claiming Subaru was too late as Amelia has already died. Subaru would then realize that was Pug, that he would soon freeze over as his head would fall off, triggering his return by death. Subaru would reopen his eyes back as at the Apples man with Rem. This time he took Rem far away, over up into a bridge. He would ask Rem to move far away with him, start a happy life. But Rem did not accept this. Rem knew that Amelia was Subaru's true love. So Rem would refuse this offer. Subaru would be taken aback. Rem would claim that it would she knows how hard it is to want to give up. But giving up didn't suit Subaru, she says. Subaru would fall into a fury as he knew he saw everybody dying. Subaru would claim that Rem didn't know how hard it was for him to not want to give up. He would utter that the words, "Do you know how? Do you know what I even did with my life before I met all of you guys? I did absolutely nothing. I had all the free time, but I was completely and utterly worthless. I truly hate everything about myself. I act like I know it all, but I don't know anything. I act like I'm a great hero, but I haven't saved anybody. I lack I act like I know everything, but I don't know anything at all." Subaru Natsuki is a complete good for nothing idiot, and I hate myself for it every single day. But Rem, hear Subaru's word. She would only offer reassurance, as she would claim that Subaru had saved somebody, and it was her. Subaru would refuse, claiming that it wasn't, but Rem would carry forward, telling Subaru about all the things that made her happy, all the things about Subaru, and about how Subaru rescued her from her own insignificance against Rom. After Subaru accepted this fact, he went to bargain with the royal selection candidates to see if he could get any of their help to save the people in the village. First, he would go to Crochet. He would say that many innocent people are gonna die, and he needs her help. That with hate-filled eyes, Subaru would express this, but to his surprise, Crochet wouldn't oblige. But Subaru would question this, as many innocent people were gonna die to the witch's cult. But Crochet would offer up if he made Amelia quit the royal selection, that he would help. But Subaru, he would he would have to make this decision. Subaru eventually would come around and agreed, but Crusade would refuse, as she knew that Subaru wasn't being truthful at all, with himself at least, since he hadn't once brought up Amelia's name in this as a person he would want to save. Subaru would be greatly angered by this. He would try seeking out other royal candidates to see if they would help him. He tried one by one, but they all refused in their own ways. Eventually, Subaru decided to go back to the mansion by himself, but this time he was going to take a much quicker way, even though the white whale was a great risk. Once again, Subaru would run into Otto. In this timeline, Subaru needed a grand dragon that wasn't too much of a wimp to go through the white whale's fog that was covering the entirety of the route. So after buying Otto's oil supplies, Subaru, Rem, and Otto would make their way out through the white whale's fog. Everything was going smoothly until the white whale was spotted. This enormous creature that took the form of a whale floating throughout his own fog. Otto would greatly speed up the ground try again, but to no avail. The white whale was on their tail. Rem would decide to make a sacrifice. She decided it was more important for them to get back to the Amelia camp, or back to the mansion or something. But Subaru was against this so much that Rem had to knock out Subaru. By the time Subaru woken up, Rem was already gone. He questioned Otto about Rem's whereabouts, but to his surprise, Otto acted surprised, as from his point of view, it's only been Subaru and Otto all along. Subaru would be deeply angered, since how could Otto just forget about Rem's great sacrifice she made so they could be carried forward? The fighting would take them nowhere. Subaru realized that the white whale was a mob beast. It was also attracted to him. He would state this fact to Otto. Otto, realizing this, would ditch Subaru, kicking him off of the kettle, apologizing as he strode away. Subaru would panic as the white whale was fast approaching him. He would dash forward, withdrawing his stand, making hundreds of layers of barriers, all very close to one another. But to his surprise, the white whale simply got bored and left. So Subaru carried his journey on foot. Eventually, he would catch up to the carriage, but Otto was nowhere in sight. So Subaru would get on the carriage. After the rest of the day traveling, he has managed to make it back to the mansion. This time, everybody was alive. He saw the village children coming to greet Subaru. As Subaru was beat up severely, Subaru would make it back to the mansion, where he would feel deep regret as he couldn't save Rem. When he tried to confess this fact to Ram seemed confused as Subaru was spouting about a little sister of hers, but she didn't have a sister. Subaru was very confused. First it was Otto, and now it was Rem. Surely Amelia would confirm that they're all crazy for forgetting about Rem. When Subaru finally met up with Amelia, he would say that on the way back they encountered the white whale, but it, he couldn't save Rem. But once more, Amelia would be confused about Rem, since such a person has never been to in their mansion once. Subaru would be very confused as everybody seemed to forgot about Rem. So Subaru would confess to Amelia that he's returned by death. He went even harder than before. This time, when he spoke of his deaths, he didn't feel a heart crunching pain. Instead, he saw Amelia drop dead to the floor. Subaru realized, even if he was strong enough to withstand the pain, the invisible hand belonging to the Witch of Envy would always keep his ability a secret from all. And with Amelia dead, Puck would grow in stature, reaching his final form. As per his contract, if Amelia ever died, he would have to destroy the world. Beatrice, seeing this, would feel bad for Subaru, as she didn't want to see Subaru die right there in front of her in the mansion. So he would be teleported away by Beatrice, only to be surrounded by the witch cults again. Betelgeuse would laugh as, from his point of view, the Sin Archbishop's pride has already dealt with the embodiment of the Witch of Envy. Betelgeuse would claim that all Subaru needed to do was hand over the corpse, and then that would be a suitable vessel if they were properly linked. And Betelgeuse would once again admire Subaru's love. Subaru was deeply loved by the Witch of Envy, as Betelgeuse would claim. But then Puck would arrive, freezing over everything. As Subaru would freeze to death again, he would hear the laugh of a man he hated, a laugh akin to Betelgeuse's, but he would only realize it was his own laugh. He was laughing at himself for what he did so wrong. Once again, he would respawn at the Apples Man with Rem. This time, he knew he had to get help, but it wasn't going to be that easy. He needed a bargaining chip. Subaru would remember that in his previous loop, the white whale appeared near a massive tree at around a certain time. Cutting forward, cutting forward back to the present, Subaru would be negotiating with Cruchet. Subaru claimed that he knew the whereabouts of the white whale and at what time, and if they went out to fight the white whale and help him with the witch cult problem, that he would reveal said information. Crochet was already planning on fighting the white whale, but finding out the whereabouts, that was crucial to her plans. So with that, they would make an agreement that Subaru would reveal the white whale's whereabouts, and in turn, Crochet's army was gonna help him deal with the witch's cult problem at the village. Subaru would be excited as he finally found a workaround the witch's cult problem and that everybody was going to be saved. We flash forward to where they were approaching the Flugel's tree, where Subaru claimed the white whale was going to appear. Subaru has set a reminder for the white whale's appearance. He would tell the army that whenever his Metia made a sound, the white whale would soon follow. As the minutes passed, Subaru would gaze upon Flugel's tree. It was truly massive. Then, Subaru's phone would ring. The entire army would be on caution, since that was a signal the Subaru had made for the white whale's appearance. An awkward 30 seconds had passed. They were questioning if the white whale was really going to show up. But today, but suddenly a thick fog would roll around. The white whale has made its appearance. Subaru would lead the army, having a flashback of when he was selecting out his ground dragon. Subaru, in this flashback, would be seeing which ground dragons would be like suitable to him. Surprisingly, he managed to connect with a really hard ground dragon that was notorious for being hard to tame. Rem made notice of this fact. As we flash forward to the future, Subaru is leading the army in a charge against the white whale. Since the white whale was such a large target, Subaru had plenty of opportunities to use his abilities on it. He just needed to wait for the right time when the white whale was low enough. Cruchet's army would fear very fearful, as this was the creature who previously took down one of the previous sword saints. But Crochet would remind them that Subaru was the weakest of them all, or so she thought, and she would say that if the weakest one was charging head on to the white whale, was their excuse. This would motivate the army. They would soon charge after the white whale. As the white whale deployed its fog, it would drive some people crazy. But that was no big of a deal since they had healers in the group. The first to make an attack against the white whale will be Wilhelm. His wife had previously died to this creature, so he wanted to fulfill his revenge and slaughter this being. Wilhelm would be launched from an ally of his, a demi human named Ricardo. As Wilhelm flew at the white whale, he promised that he would make his revenge. Wilhelm would land on the white whale, instantly withdrawing his sword, instantly gashing at the white whale's flesh. The white whale would shriek at this, as this was truly painful for it. Wilhelm would run across the creature's eye, eyebrow, or wherever that would be, slashing its eye out. The white whale would be blinded in that eye. The white whale's eye would fall to the ground with a big splurt. The white whale would slowly lose altitude as it has been injured. When, when the white whale was low enough, Subaru activated his stand ability, Cosmic Embrace. He froze all of the kinetic energy inside the white whale, making it solid so the white whale couldn't fly away. It was stunned and incapable of raising its altitude. Wilhelm would continue to gash at the creature's immense size. As Subaru and Rem would ride around the creature, Rem would fire off ice, icicles at the creature, making it bleed out. As the rest of the army would prepare to take charge onto the white whale. Soon, three little cat girls would take charge, instantly shrieking at the white whale with their sonic power. But one of them would stare directly at the viewer and clarify that it was actually a man, as the narrator accidentally got that a bit incorrect. Then they would continue to attack the white whale, Wilhelm playing a major part in this. But Subaru couldn't keep his ability running forever. Eventually, he got tired out, and the white whale would raise altitude again. Suddenly, two more white whales would appear. This would petrify everybody, since one was already enough to deal with, as the main white whale would fly up higher to keep itself safe from harm. Subaru would once more come up with a strategy how to take down these two more white whales. After Subaru carefully analyzed these white whales, he would deduct that these were merely weaker versions, and unlike the white whale, they could easily be taken down. So after Subaru's knowledge was spread amongst the army, a couple spells later, these two mimicries were done. The white whale had no other choice but to fly low and continue its attack, as they were severely injuring the white whale. But it wasn't enough. So Subaru decided that he needed another plan. How he thought to himself, how is he gonna take down this creature? Then he gazed upon Flugel's tree. He came up with a crazy idea that might just work. He told Crochet to plant explosives next to the tree and lure the white whale over there. And then the white whale would continue to follow the army, but the army was charging towards the tree. When the white whale arrived, the tree had blown over, completely pinning the creature down. The white whale has been defeated. Subaru would feel relieved after all. That was an intense battle. Crochet would come over and congratulate Subaru for his expertise planning maneuver. Then Subaru would realize that he may have accidentally given Crochet a buff to the royal selection, as he thought Crochet would claim all the credit for killing the white whale. But Crochet wasn't like that. Crochet humbly offered most of the credit to Subaru since he was masterful at planning. But it wasn't the greatest of things, as many passed out people would be seen. Ignore that sound. These people are trying to troll me when I'm recording the third video. As Subaru would take charge, coming forward to the next impossible challenge, defeating the witch's cult. Subaru would sit down with the entire army, discussing how they should handle things. But the second more people would arrive, and among those people would be Julius. Subaru did not like this man very much, but his help was greatly and most certainly desired. As they carried forward to the witch's cult, Julius's group would report that they has managed to evacuate most of the civilians out of the village, so no casualties should be formed in the villagers. On their way to defeat the witches cult, a mysterious figure in white would appear. This person seemed greatly angered and dashed right towards Subaru. To Subaru's surprise, this was actually wrong. As previously, Subaru accidentally sent a white letter back to Oswald. This means basically it's a mad disrespect, and Rem thought Subaru was like dissing them. But Subaru explained that it was a mistake, and Rem still was a little fussy with that, but accepted. So they would carry forward, eventually running into the witch's cult. Most of the army would be able to handle the smaller witch's cult members, as they would track down and try to find Betelgeuse, who was the main leader of them. Subaru had a plan, as he knew Betelgeuse would mistake him for the Sin Archbishop of Pride. He would approach Betelgeuse, claiming that he is a new Sin Archbishop. Betelgeuse would truly admire this, as they has managed to uncover the seat of pride. He would say how much he was loved and if he has managed to receive his gospel yet. Subaru would reply with, "Yeah, he did, but he accidentally used it as toilet paper." Betelgeuse would look deeply disturbed at Subaru, thinking this was a mockery. Suddenly, Wilhelm would appear right behind Betelgeuse, instantly decapitating him. Subaru would be surprised that his strategy worked out, but he was still weary. So the two little girls would use their sonic powers on Betelgeuse's corpse, absolutely obliterating it. Subaru was certain they had a victory in their bag. He didn't think he had to go through any more additional deaths. But to his surprise, one of the witch's cult member would have the authority of Sloth now, the unseen hand. They would soon cause wreckage. As Subaru confronts this new Sloth inheritor, they would question him about how Subaru is able to see his unseen hand, which Subaru would reply by activating his stand, Cosmic Embrace. This would click a switch in Betelgeuse's mind, or Betelgeuse was. Betelgeuse would think that since they had such similar authorities, that must be the reason why he is able to see the unseen hand. But that was not the reason at all. As Subaru would try to fight off Betelgeuse with the aid of many other people, they would eventually be successful in killing off that one. But Betelgeuse would simply take over another body. This would be troublesome, as Betelgeuse managed to kill off all major support group that was located near his vessel. Then Sloth would have a very easy time killing off the weaker members of the army. Eventually, they would manage to make their way back towards where Subaru was located. Then they would have their showdown. Subaru would re- reinforce himself with some armor and then withdraw uh, an energy sword construct, being able to hopefully stand a fight against Betelgeuse. As all of the Betelgeuse's host, which they would dub Fingers, would be eliminated, they thought they would finally be free of Betelgeuse's reign. But to Subaru's horror, he would feel immense pain coming off of him. He would realize Betelgeuse was able to use him as a host. He would soon be taken over by Betelgeuse, but he was fighting back with all of his power. He would ask Julius to murk him before Betelgeuse rampaged again. To Julius's sadness, he had to do it. Then he would murk off Subaru. Subaru would reset. This time, he would be sitting down at the army. He decided he needed to destroy all of the Fingers first before fighting Betelgeuse. So he spread the newfound information to the army. Then they went forward. They eventually found all of Betelgeuse's fingers, and surely they were all eliminated. Finally, Subaru challenged Betelgeuse on a 1v1. They managed to get to a remote space. Well, if Subaru needed any help, he could always just call for a backups. Subaru would withdraw his stand, Cosmic Embrace. Betelgeuse would also activate the Unseen Hand. Betelgeuse had much more range than Subaru, but if Subaru got in close, his stand would be easily be able to beat up Betelgeuse. So, Subaru would make dozens of arrows again, ordering his stand to throw them, but most of them would miss their target because the unseen hands would move them out of the way. So Subaru would charge up a thinny arrow, moving at such high speed even the unseen hand couldn't process it. This would nail Betelgeuse directly in the heart. But that wasn't enough. As Betelgeuse would continue to go on a rampage, he would demand for the witch's love that Subaru was ever so slightly covered in. He would rush directly at Betelgeuse, instantly using his stand to barrage him and with a barrage of Betelgeuse's body would simply give out. As Subaru would feel Betelgeuse is trying to overtake his body, that's when he would call forth of his allies. As Betelgeuse was trying to inhabit Subaru's body, he would utter that he could return by death. Then and there, Betelgeuse would meet the one he's been admiring ever since then. He would see the Witch of Envy, Satella. But Satella would realize this wasn't Subaru, so Betelgeuse would be forcibly ejected back to his deteriorating body. As they would successfully manage to eliminate Betelgeuse. Then and there, Subaru felt something off when they killed Betelgeuse, but he knew Betelgeuse was dead, and there was no remaining fingers, so Betelgeuse was definitely dead for sure. Little did he know the witch factor of sloth was passed on to him. As Subaru met up with the rest of the army, Julius would be surprised that he managed to defeat a Sin Archbishop all by himself. Then Julius would recognize that Subaru had great spiritual talent. Subaru would ask what that means. He would explain that you could become a spirit art user, using spirits as a conduit to do magic that isn't innately your type, and other useful things. Subaru would take note of this. He was going to form a couple of contracts with spirits. Subaru would head back towards the mansion, with most of the villagers being able to return. But the villagers, some of the villagers escaped over into the sanctuary, and they couldn't escape since the sanctuary you could only leave if you had a certain blood or aquaria. But that is for the next episode. Thank you so much. This was like so fun to record and do all of this. If you're excited for part 4, drop a like. Okay, bye.